welcome to round 3 on the tee in Plug TV. I'm absolutely delighted this morning to have Glenn McCrory in the studio. So welcome, Glenn.
Hello, Mark. It's good to talk to you. I know we spoke a few times on the phone, but it's good to see you and have a nice little chat.
Absolutely, and as soon as we get out of this lockdown, I can't wait to have that game that we've been planning.
Do you know what? That's something I'm really looking forward to, a game of golf, getting out in the fresh air. I'm a bit surprised that, I know the clubhouses might be busy, but I'm a bit surprised golf's been sort of knocked on the head, because you're out in the open and you're walking, and I can social distance when I play golf because I'm in the woods most of the time.
So what's your handicap, Glenn?
My clubs. Do you know what? I haven't got a handicap, so I play off the maximum, because I went into golf many years ago. My manager, when I was 19, I turned professional. My manager says, "You've got to get some golf clubs." So he got me an old set of golf clubs. Says, "You've got to play golf." Didn't give me any tuition. Didn't give me any. Really, what he meant was, I need you to get me on some good golf courses. So as a fighter, you'll get some good advice. That's what he meant. So I played golf, never had a clue, hacked up courses, and to be honest, hated it. Disliked it immensely. Would get my clubs 2 or 3 times a year. Would get invited to a great course somewhere, and I'd play, hack up the course, walk off the course, and I hated it. And then a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, going through a really bad time. Everything seemed to be going wrong. Divorces and everything seemed to be, well, a bit longer than that, probably 5 or 6 years. Everything seemed to be going wrong, and I thought, I was in that sort of mind frame. I was so anxious and just in a really bad place, that I thought, I've got to do something. And I thought, the only thing, there was a golf course just near me and a practice green. I thought, I'm going to go up and just hit some balls. And I went and I started hitting balls. And after that, I fell in love with it. I just aimlessly hitting balls. And then I started to try and aim for things. And since then, being a big fan. So I'm still yet to sort of become a member and get my my handicap sorted out. But I do enjoy it. I've played in the Bronx. I played in South Africa. I mean, it's been a bit of a waste over the years, because I have managed Las Vegas. I have managed to play in some amazing places.
Well, that's what golf does. It does take us all over the world, and you are alone as well. And like boxing, it is a game where you're in the ring, I'm on the golf course, and there's no hiding place. So it teaches you.
I know the similarities. And it sounds weird, but the similarities with boxing, because you are alone, and it's about the strategy of how you're going to get from A to that ball in the hole. How you're going to get there. What you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and that's very much like boxing. You've got to be thinking, 1, 2, 3 steps ahead all the time when you're in the ring. I mean, the good thing is nobody hits you in the head when you're on the golf course, so that makes it even more appealing.
We do that to ourselves. So obviously, being a sportsman, and obviously not a world champion like yourself, but it's taught me a lot, certainly over my career. Like life teaches us a huge amount, and right now this is a very different, unprecedented time. But using the skill sets that I've learned, how are you getting on? How are you coping?
So the first couple of weeks were really, really hard. Getting a bit depressed and all the rest of it. I've kind of come out of that. Obviously, there's a lot of bad things going on. A lot of people are losing family and friends, and it's a very, very distressing time. And you've got to be grateful for what you've got. And my family is safe, and my family are healthy. So you've got to just try and keep going through this very, very difficult time. We all have to pull together. There's some amazing things coming out of this, and some terrible stories, and there's some amazing stories. And it's Colonel Tom and Captain Tom. He's just been promoted to Colonel Tom, 100-years old today. And what a man he is. 75 years ago, he led the way, in battle, looking after his people. And then 75 years later, he's marching up his garden, raising £30 million. I mean, so it's things like that that make you think, you know what, I've got to keep my spirits up. I've got to keep pushing forward, and we'll all come out of this, and we'll all come out of this together. And you know what, we'll come out of it better people.
I mean, it is incredible. I mean, there's a guy at his age, and he's come up with that incredible idea, and then, you know, the rest is history where we're at today with it, which is absolutely fascinating.
Leading by example. You're leading by example, and I mean, when he set off doing this, I'm sure he just did it for a tiny little thing that he could do, not realizing that it would, you know, capture the imagination of everybody, and he'd raise £30 million. But such an unselfish thing that, you know, he went out and led by example, as he did, you know, as a soldier, and you know, just remarkable man. And you know, that lifts your spirit. That makes you just push forward and keep fighting.
Absolutely, and we've spoke obviously previous to this, and you know, you actually inspired me and many others in so many ways, and it all comes from within. I mean, your story, if you don't mind sharing once again, Glenn, but I mean, incredible, dating back a few years now, but that winning ability. I mean, you've been knocked so many times, not just in the ring, in life, and it's that ability to get up, yeah, and keep going, as you say.
Well, you know, my inspiration and my hero was my younger brother David, and my book's called Carrying David. I used to carry him to school. He had a muscle wasting disease, or a neurological disease called Friedreich's ataxia, and you know, I watched him just waste away over the years, and his courage, never giving up. You know, he was supposed to pass. His life expectancy was about 15, 16. He lived till 29, and he never give up till his last breath. And that instilled in me that same characteristic of just keep going. You know, we're going to get knockbacks. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. You know, that is life. But just keep going. And you know, that I just climbed a mountain in September, Manaslu, the 8th highest mountain in the world, and it was just that same thing that made me do that. It was just that same thing of just put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. Just keep going, and at the end, you'll get there.
And keep breathing, eh? Keep breathing.
Breathing, yeah, keep breathing. That's important.
So I mean, obviously, when you're on the canvas and it's seriously hurting, I mean, that must come from within, and to get back up, to take another punch. I mean, tell me and the guys what that actually feels like, and how hard that is to get back up. Or obviously you train for that, you bounce back up, or I mean, explain a little bit about that.
You know, I mean, that's something that's just inside you. You know, it's just something that, it's just a feeling that, you know, it's that the hero and the coward. You know, nobody knows what you're going to be until that moment happens, and you know, the coward runs backwards, the hero runs forward, and it's very tough when you're in a fight and you get knocked down, and you know, but some instinct inside of you says, just get back up and get some more.
I mean, the first time we spoke, again, massive inspiration. You've you know, shared with me the poem, and that is incredible. So I mean, the poem that you've carried around with you for so long, and how that helps you as well. And I think the message I'm trying to obviously share and get out there right now is one of massive positivity, is a, you know, never give in attitude, keep going the whole way, because you never know, do you? I mean, your story to world champion, you know, shouldn't have happened, should it? But it did.
No, it probably shouldn't have happened. But I mean, David was the reason that happened. I went through a period, you know, I was in the wrong weight division. I was badly managed. I didn't have a trainer, and you know, I was taking fights on weeks' notice. And you know, I became a journeyman, and I knew I was better than that. And you know, I kept watching. I was going to quit, and I kept watching my brother. And he'd try to climb the stairs, and he'd fall down, he'd turn around, and he'd get back on his knees and go carry on back up the stairs. And I think he shamed me in a way. You know, his strength, his commitment, his determination, and it gave me that resolve of never giving in, just keep going. And you know, there's times, and not long ago, when you think, oh, I want to give in, you know, it's getting too much. I just want to give in. And there's something that always comes through with me, and it's normally when I'm on the floor or my back's against the ropes when I come out fighting, and that's when I'm at my best, when I'm at my worst. So so you know, just thank God. You know, I thank God for, you know, His grace of putting David in my life, and you know, it was great because a couple of years ago I got a phone call from a young man, Geraint Williams from Cardiff, and he said, oh, I'm a boxing fan, and we chatted got on great, you know, lovely guy. And then he said, on one conversation, he said, you ever fancy climbing a mountain? And I said, you know, yeah, I've always fancied doing something. He says, well, let's climb Kilimanjaro. And I was like, yeah, I'm in for that. Yeah, I'll do that. And then what he didn't tell me at that moment when I signed up to climb Kilimanjaro, and he told me a little while later, he says, oh, by the way, you know the disease your brother had, you know, the illness your brother had? I've got the same. I've got dyslexia as well. I'm in a wheelchair. And I was like, but I thought we were climbing Kilimanjaro. Yeah, we are. And I was in a wheelchair. And he's like, yeah, it's especially adapted. You know, I use my arms. And I'm like, this is mad. Anyhow, you know, Geraint, I mean, you know, touched my life. We went and we climbed Kilimanjaro, you know, with his dad, his best mate. And we went up Kilimanjaro with him in a wheelchair, which was awesome. Changed my life. You know, it was just such a privilege to be with him. He reminded me so much of David. That courage, you know, and he just never gave in. He just kept going. Whether we had to pull him with ropes, he just kept going.
And it was, I mean, you incredible. And part of your plan was to climb Everest as well, I believe. Yeah.
It was. I was supposed to be. I would be now at Everest now. This is when we were supposed to go, April and May this year, but the climbing season has been cancelled. I think the charity Children's Christmas Wish List, which are a wonderful charity, you know, I'm so happy to represent them. And we climbed Manaslu as part of the climb, but then unfortunately it was very, very tough. Manaslu, climbing the 8th highest mountain in the world, was above and beyond anything that I've ever attempted in my life. It was, you know, when you're trying to climb a mountain and you've never had crampons on, you've never used ropes, you know, you haven't got a clue about the clothing and the tents and everything else. It made it very, very difficult. It was
and you were quite.
Woman in the next tent died. Just before just below the summit of Camp 4. She had oxygen on. She started to make a lot of noise, and I thought she was arguing with her chef. I started to film it on my phone. And then she collapsed and she died there right in front of me. And that was you know, that really sort of knocked the wind out of my sails, seeing and, you know, having to see as they took her down the mountain because the helicopters couldn't get up that high. It was really quite disturbing. The charity then, you know, said that, you know, enough's enough. You know, we're not going to do Everest because it's so dangerous. So I had the great pleasure of climbing Manaslu, which was, you know, it was great. And I mean, seeing the Sherpas and seeing the young kids around Samago, the foot of the mountain, and how they live in their hardships, how they get by, was amazing. It was also very disturbing seeing people fall in crevasses and split heads open and all that. It was a tough time. I learned a lot about myself sitting in a tent. It kind of prepared me a little bit for isolation because you're up a mountain by yourself, you're in a tent, you spend so much time by yourself. 5 o'clock it gets dark, you're in your tent all night, long nights, freezing cold, just wondering if tomorrow you're going to survive. So I learned a lot about myself up Manaslu.
Really, I mean, thank you first of all for sharing such a, you know, heartfelt message there. I mean, incredible story. And I mean, it really does put sport into context when when you're in that real life and death situation. But obviously, as a sportsman yourself, I mean, the emotions that you go through preparing for a tournament, preparing for an event, and then you're in the moment, it feels amazing, yeah? When you're in that moment and you're there.
You know, my career was a very tough career. It was, you know, I did so much without a trainer, without a gym. You know, I had to go and spar Mike Tyson to get recognized. You know, I was British and Commonwealth champion. I had to do everything the hard way, so it was very, very difficult. But through it all, I ended up getting my world title fight in Stanley. The first Northeast World Championship fight ever in history was in my village, where I come from, a little mining village, northwest Durham, called Stanley. And it was just, you know, a once in a lifetime, unbelievable moment. Stanley turned into Las Vegas for one night, and it was just fantastic. And I won. I became the first ever Northeast World Champion, 300 yards from my home. I walked up the front street that night. I'd said, my little daughter, I'd give her a kiss and says, you know, I'll see you later. Walked up the street with my bag over my shoulder, and I'm looking up, and I'm seeing people with dicky bow ties on and dresses, and I'm seeing limousines coming in. I'm seeing camera crews, and I'm walking up thinking, what the hell's going on, Stanley, tonight? It was my world title fight. I was oblivious of it. It was just the most incredible night ever in my life. So I'm so massively thankful. You know, when you have a night like that, it's just nothing compares.
And you've I mean, you sparred 96 rounds, I believe, with Tyson, yeah?
I did 96 in his heyday, when he was the meanest man on the planet. When he was 21 years of age. He was a young kid. He'd become the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. He was destined, you know, at that time I thought destined to be the greatest heavyweight of all time, and eclipse my hero Muhammad Ali. It didn't turn out that way. The wheels came off a little bit, but for that little moment when he was coming up, it was just an awesome time to be around somebody. And it was again, it was a man of slew moment. You know, it was climbing a mountain.
He just
I got a world title fight from that sparring. I got recognized, you know, as a top contender. I give him a black eye. You know, Mike's, you know, I'm still pals with Mike. He's always very respectful. But it was a marvelous time.
And also you obviously fought Lennox
Briefly.
Yeah. two rounds, and it looked like he hurt.
I took that fight for all the wrong reasons. Well, I took that fight for money. A manager kind of forgot to pay me when I lost my world title and went off to America. So I got a tax bill, and I hadn't earned anywhere near what it was. Should have probably got an accountant, but instead, naively, I decided I needed to pick a fight to get that payday, to pick a fight with somebody tough, and I picked on Lennox, which was mistake number one. I mean, he really did show me what a great fighter he was, what a terrific talent, and probably one of the best heavyweights of all time. But when Lennox was in the mood, which he was then, because I called him a few names, and that was tough. But he's a great guy, you know, a great guy. I was around him his whole career, commentating. You know, had so many great nights around Lennox. And in fact, yesterday was the 20th anniversary of the Michael Grant fight in Lennox Lewis Michael Grant in Madison Square Garden. So that was 20 years ago yesterday. So some great memories from that night. As I had, I've had 30 years. I've been blessed in that 30 years. You know, I won a world title. I got to the top of my profession in boxing, and then the top of my profession as a commentator as well, and had 30 years covering the biggest fights, the biggest nights. And, you know, I just did Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder in February. So still at it. But that was, some brilliant nights and some great fighters that I've been around.
I mean, the punditry and the commentary, obviously, you know, you're very famous for that role. And in your in your profession now and your experience and also your opinion, who do you think is the best, if there was a combination boxer out there right now and the best one for sort of ring IQ, speed, determination, fight, who would your best boxer be, or a combination of many?
People ask me this question, but I'm as well as being a professional at this, I'm also a fan. So there's so many fighters that I like different things. Canelo. I mean, Tyson Fury is superb. I mean, AJ's doing great, but Tyson Fury. I mean, what a record! He should be undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. He shouldn't have had the draw. He won that fight. He came back in fantastic fashion and destroyed Deontay Wilder. So I mean, he's the man. He's heavyweight champion of the world. He's top man.
And it's been very well documented through his journey as well. And in fact, most people, I think, right now, and we touched upon mental health. I mean, is it normal? I mean, does everybody go through it, do you think? I mean, it's simple.
Everybody. So mental health is not a stigma. Mental health, everybody has mental health. Everybody has physical health. There's people that are in great physical condition and look after themselves, and there's people that are in terrible physical condition. The same way there's people have a good mental condition, and there's people have a very bad mental condition. So it's normal. It's everybody. It's not just a small few that you put in the corner that you say they've got mental health problems. Everybody at some point in their life is going to go through bad things. We're all, especially at a time like unprecedented time like today, when people are losing people every day. They can't say goodbye. I mean, it's horrendously sad that these people are going through this. And when this is all over, these people are going to have problems. There's going to be the National Health, which are doing just an unbelievable job, putting themselves last in the line, just doing everything they possibly can to save lives and look after people. There's a point going to come when these people are going to fall apart because they've seen so much pain, so much suffering. They've held so many hands. When people have passed away, that there's going to be an aftermath. There is going to be a fallout of big problems. Children that don't get outside for weeks and weeks and weeks.
And I know prior to all of this, Glenn, prior to all of this, we were actually going to be putting some motivational stuff together. And
yes. Well, I think after this, when we come out of this, it's a definite. I'd love to work with you and put some stuff together, because there's going to be a need for comfort for people, and for help for people, and for inspiration that people will need. And then if I can do anything at all to help people, from my own experiences, I'd certainly like to help.
No, it's an amazing story that you've had. I mean, your whole career. I mean, not at all. It's just the start. I mean, touch base on your sort of movie career. I mean, you auditioned for Bond as well, I believe. Yeah.
I did. I could have been Geordie Bond.
That's amazing.
I'll kill you.
And I mean, your biography is an incredible read. So if anybody is watching this, then I recommend them to go out.
And if you don't like reading it, it's good. If you don't like reading it, you can colour it in.
Yeah. And no, it's been incredible. So a couple of questions, I suppose, is who's delivered like the hardest punch that you could ever remember? And did you like that?
Oh, do you know what? I've been hit in the head by some of the best fighters in the world. So they all sort of blend. The pain blends into one. I mean, I shared the ring with Lennox Lewis, and Lennox surprised me by his physical strength. He's a big man, like yourself. He's 6'6", big, strong, athletic, and getting hit around the head with Lennox was like getting hit with a wet bag of cement. The punches really numbed you to your toes. Mike Tyson was so quick. He'd hit you with 6 punches and steal your training shoes. I mean, he was just quick and ferocious. I sparred Bone Crusher Smith at 19. I sparred Trevor Burbick. You know, sparred a lot of top fighters, and they all hit. They all hit hard. They all hurt. The best thing you can do is have a good defense in boxing. So if anybody's getting into boxing, first thing you practice is defense.
Okay. Well, I think thank you for you know, the comparisons there, but I think the 6'6" may be the only comparison that I've got with Lennox Lewis.
No, I heard you're a talented man.
And that's very kind. And yeah, I suppose just one last thing, which has been amazing. So a big thank you. But three pieces of advice that you would give to, I suppose, any level of any sports, of any sportsman, so whether it be an amateur, a beginner, an elite, or a, you know, professional. What 3 pieces of advice do you think, if you're going to wrap it up, that make a massive difference between winning and losing?
Believe in yourself. Work hard. And work hard again.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you, Glenn. No, it's been amazing.
You know, there's no substitute in anything in life for hard work. You know, you see Floyd Mayweather, he makes everything look easy. It's because he's practiced every day in the gym, every day of his life since he's 6 years of age. And there's no shortcuts. You know, people have a natural talent. People say, "Oh, Glenn, you had talent." No, I didn't. I had no more talent than anybody else. The only thing was, I believed in myself, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I worked hard, and I worked hard, and I got there. And you know, there's nothing else you can do. Just dedication, determination, hard work. That's no shortcuts.
That's beautiful.
You can get it.
That's amazing. Well, I'm certainly going to be taking some inspiration from this morning, and I know the viewers will be as well. So, as I say, a massive heartfelt thank you again to you, Glenn, and I really look forward to our round of golf very soon.
Yeah, we'll have a good bit chat.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you ever so much.
God bless.
You're a star. Take care.